Here's an experiment for you. Take passionate experts in human resource technology. Invite cross-industry experts from inside and outside HR. Mix in what's happening in people analytics today. Give them the technology to connect. Hit record. Pour their discussions into a beaker. Mix thoroughly. And voila, you get the HR Data Labs podcast, where we explore the impact of data and analytics to your business. We may get passionate and even irreverent, but count on each episode challenging and enhancing your understanding of the way people data can be used to solve real-world problems. Now, here's your host, David Turetsky.
Hello and welcome to the HR Data Labs podcast. I'm your host, David Turetsky, and with me today, my friend, Dwight Brown, co-host of the HR Data Labs podcast. Hey, Dwight, how you doing?
I'm good, David. How are you doing?
Very good. Today, we have a very special episode for you. Today, we're actually wrapping up season 3. Can you believe it, Dwight? This is the 75th podcast.
Man, I cannot believe it. It is just crazy that we've made it this far.
It is crazy. And I think a lot of our audience is saying the exact same thing.
Yeah, exactly. And our colleagues, too.
Yeah, they're like, when are they going to stop with this crap already? But one of the fun things we're going to do today is try and accomplish 3 different things. The first thing we're going to try and accomplish is give a little bit of a recap about what we learned and who we talked to in season 3. We had a lot of really great episodes. And of course, every time, all of the seasons, we've had great episodes. I think this might have been the strongest set of episodes we've had, though, with the strongest guest list so far.
I would agree.
And you were part of the reason why, because you had gotten some really great guests for our season 3. The second thing is we're going to talk about some of the themes we're going to talk to in season 4 and some of the things that we hope to accomplish in season 4. And then we're going to do something really new for us. Because our seasons kind of last about 6 months, we're going to put on our Carnac hat and predict, for those of you who remember who Carnac was, Johnny Carson from The Tonight Show, where he would try and predict things that are happening in the news. And he knew what he was talking about because he wrote the cards that were in the envelopes. But we're going to talk about what we think is going to happen in the world of HR data, analytics, and technology over the next 6 months. And so one of the things we'd like to do is then in episode 100, which we're going to have a very special episode, but we're going to go back and open up that envelope and see how Carnac Dwight and Carnac David did and talk about what we learned as well as what we predict for the next time. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start off by talking about one fun thing. No, we're not going to do the one fun thing.
Oh.
Well, if you want, Dwight, you can tell the world one fun thing about you that no one knows.
Oh, my God. Of course I have to filter it. But,
yes, you do.
Yes,
very
much
make sure
so.
It's PG-13.
Okay, so here we go. So a few people know about this, people who have known me for a long time. But I used to work in college. For 3 years, I worked as a bouncer in a bar. Yeah, that was one of my most interesting jobs ever, I have to say.
And I'm glad I didn't have to run into you.
Yes, you are.
Yes. Yes, for those of you who know me, I don't drink that much anymore. I try not to, at least. So I hopefully would not have run afoul of Mr. Brown. But that was a good one fun thing. One fun thing about me is I now have college payments coming up because my oldest is going to the School of Visual Arts in New York City, and I'm very proud of them. They're going to do a great job there. They're already great artists, but they will love that living in New York City, working in New York City, and learning in New York City will be a phenomenal, wonderful experience for them.
What an experience. Not great for you with having education payments, but, you love to see your kids have those opportunities.
No. I'm so excited for them. One of the fun things I get to do for them is I'm hooking them up because their school doesn't have a meal plan. I'm hooking them up at H&H Bagels with a meal plan.
Oh, there we go.
So they have to walk to H&H
Dad,
Bagels.
I am so sick of bagels right now.
Hey, listen, that's what you got to eat. Oh, they make smoothies too. H&H Bagels make smoothies.
That's okay. I survived off of bean burritos from Taco Bell when I was in college. So,
or ramen. How many of us ate ramen in college? So I got sick and tired of it. So now let's talk about season 3 and some of the key lessons. And I think we can start by saying season 3 started off with a bang because we had just attended HR Tech 2021.
This is William Tincup, and I'd like to direct you to a wonderful limited series podcast that Ryan and I recorded live at the ERE Recruiting Innovation Summit. We sat down with 20 recruiting and TA leaders from around the world to hear what today's best recruiters are doing to stay sharp, stay relevant, and stay ahead. It's called The Talent Shift. You'll love it. You'll find the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Listen, like, review, share. Do you?
And we both attended. What we learned from it was that trying to run around HR Tech and be able to herd cats and do podcasting was fun in and of itself. Remember that?
We learned a lot about the sound challenges alone of doing that, and how do you record. Thank God we've got a great engineer that can work his magic on what we gave him, and he had plenty of baggage.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Shout out to Carl. And in the notes today, we'll give you Carl's email address and everything about Affogato Media.
Yes.
But to start, we start off with a bang with really focusing on a few different topics. One of them, which is how has the ATS world changed with technology? And we had spoken with Tim Sackett and Bennett Sung and Jack Copeman and really kind of understood where has the technology gone, but also where has the ATS function gone inside of HR? Because what we've all experienced is various levels of either frustration or success with being able to find the right talent and utilize the right talent and be able to get those from the wonderful Indeed commercial, that needle in the haystack, or being the needle to get found, right?
You know, the piece that this really drove home for me was you can lay a lot of technology on top of a process, but if your back-end processes don't change, your technology, the value of it can be compromised. So it all depends what you do with it.
Exactly. And I think we actually had that happen. That exact theme happened several times during our season, where we talked about how HR policies and practices have influenced or have been influenced by HR technology or have influenced HR technology. Have they really changed since the 70s and 80s?
Right.
The 1970s, 1980s.
I'm glad you clarified that.
Well, I mean, it could have been the 1870s and 1880s because we're not.
I'm not sure there's been much change from that period either.
Well, no, you're right. Actually, there hasn't. Although computers, I think, didn't really exist in the 1800s. But then again, some HR practices still haven't changed from the 1800s either.
Exactly.
But one that thankfully has is the focused on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And we had several episodes over this season that I'm very proud of, especially we started off with the Pam Jeffords, Susan Richards, and Danielle White from Sapient Insights Group. That was a really fun episode. And that carried through to a lot of different conversations, whether it was Ray Goldberg's, re-envisioning or reconceptualizing benefits based on DE&I, or we had some really wonderful conversations with Joseph Ifeabu, where he was talking about the full employee life cycle and looking at it from that lens of DE&I, and our colleague Lena Turner and her experiences and her personal perspective on it. And I said I wasn't going to go through each one, Dwight, but let me get through the DE&I ones, and then we can kind of go back to grouping them all together. Like the Fred Wills episode, I think was one of my favorites. And whereas I love all of my podcast children equally, Fred Wills was a really great conversation, and we learned a lot from that one.
Yeah, they were all great. And, Fred, as we talked about in the episode, Fred and I knew each other from a past employer.
Small world.
So it was. And it was great to reconnect with him, and great to actually be able to have the level of conversation that we did from the personal perspective. And
the level of detail as well, which
Oh yeah, yeah, and even Lena and her personal experience that she shared. I loved those episodes because it really, we talk about these things conceptually so much of the time. So to be able to get it down to that personal level and really get a look and feel for the entire DEI landscape was that for me was a really special experience.
It was. And cap that off with a really great and fun experience with talking to Kathy and Darius on the DE&I analytics, right?
Yeah.
Where, brilliant person. And she came at it from a really fascinating perspective where we learned a lot about not only being able to get the data to measure, but then what are you measuring and what impact does that have? Love that episode.
Yeah. And talking about what do you do with the data once you've got it.
Yeah. And so, then we had a lot of other themes that kind of were pervasive through a lot of the season, one of which was being able to utilize the technology to really engage with employees and be able to learn what do employees want, and whether it's setting up employee experience for the benefit of the business and business outcomes, or whether it's being able to move HR technology in the right direction and be able to evolve what the personnel action form used to be, or, really focusing on, as I said, the business outcomes and being able to figure out how to change business outcomes by looking at measuring employee experience in EX. We had those conversations with Kevin Campbell and Jan Johnson and a few other people, and they were a lot of fun.
And that theme for me, we talk about the HR processes from the 1800s, and what is amazing to me, and this was really driven home by each of the episodes, was the fact that we're moving from a mindset of HR being company driven to HR and companies being employee driven. It used to be that the company, people viewed it as the companies doing the employee a favor by employing them. And now we're moving to a mindset where the employee is doing the company a favor by being employed there. And that really came through in the episodes.
And I think some of the dynamics we're seeing playing out right now in the market, where a lot of organizations are seeing movements to unionize, whether it's baristas for Starbucks or other areas. Mm-hmm. And that's employees feeling the power that was given to them or that they've taken from companies because of the Great Resignation and because of this change from working in the office to working at home. That empowerment of being able to work from home and feeling like you can still be productive. And then when organizations say, no, we want you back in the office, employees going, wait a minute, you mean I don't have to pay for commuting? I can get up, get my kids out the door and not have to freak out about whether or not they're sick or not and who's going to watch them and whether there's a repairman coming or whatever. This is the life, man. This is working for me. And
totally.
Then companies going, oh no, COVID's over. Come back. We need you now.
And employees saying, yeah, thanks, but no.
Exactly. And in an environment where we have low unemployment, relatively low unemployment, and trying to find good talent at all levels of organizations is now really hard. And we've heard and we actually had some episodes where we were talking about being able to try and find good talent. Tim Freestone, the episode that will precede this one, where we're talking about even finding good data talent. How do you find those people?
Right.
It's impossible these days.
Yeah, exactly.
We actually had another conversation with Greg Miller about being able to grow talent from people who you would have alternatively laid off instead, and being able to grow their skills and be able to change what they do instead of affecting them by laying them off.
Yeah, exactly. The win-win that's created with that.
Oh, yeah.
The employees obviously benefit, but the companies benefited as well. You retool your workforce. You've got lower costs of laying people off, all those kinds of things. So it's fascinating.
That's right. And I think one of the other things that we talked about in the series and this season was the new social responsibilities. Like we mentioned with the Greg Miller episode of being socially responsible when you're automating and being able to grow people inside who can change what they do and retrain and reskill instead of laying them off. But we also had conversations as well with ESG and talking about the environmental social governance in today's organizations, because frankly, we can't have business as usual anymore. The world has changed.
Right.
Climate's changed. And the world is not the same.
Yeah. And look at our current environment where there's so much more corporate policy drive where, look at what we're seeing in Ukraine and Russia,
Absolutely.
where McDonald's just pulled out of Russia as a statement, and KFC and all the other organizations. And you look internally within the United States with what happened in Florida with Disney and and what came out for me in the podcast that we have is that organizations are realizing that they have to be employee driven, but not only employee driven, they have to live out the values that the employees care about. So those ESGs really help to drive things, not only at a company level, but look at it. It's driving world politics right now.
Right.
So
absolutely. And I think one of the other season themes that we had was HR technology and its growth and its change. And whether we're talking about AI and the Holger-Mueller conversation, or we're talking about the ability for collaboration, Adriana, the episode I think that was episode 23, and trying to take advantage of, or have you and your network be able to take advantage of growth by utilizing your network. But we had others where, we talked to Larry Donovan about mid-market and what the special needs of the mid-market are from HR technology. So there is a lot of growth, and there was a lot of talk about change in the HR technology landscape in season 3.
It was fascinating looking at it from multiple angles like that, and really gives you a good perspective on just how influential HR tech and analytics can be within an organization, or the downfalls if you don't have good HR tech and analytics to help drive your organization.
Exactly. And if I hadn't mentioned it before, let me mention my business friend, Steve Brink, and the ability to customize pay packages and using that employee, as I think we talked about before, that employee experience to ask employees what they want to get paid. To me, that kind of drives home where we're headed. And so instead of talking more about that, and I think we've covered off on season 3, let's talk about some of the themes that we are going to take on in season 4.
This is exciting to me.
Yeah, me too.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by clicking subscribe. This podcast is made possible by Salary.com. Now, back to the show.
So to me, season 4, I'm hoping, this is what I hope for season 4, that we talk more about people analytics and its evolution to talent intelligence. And for those who haven't heard me speak, I'm speaking at the World at Work conference in May of 2022 on talent intelligence and its evolution from people analytics. We're going to spend a lot more time as well talking about the evolution of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and the evolution of pay equity inside of DEI and B, and what it all means. What does the practice of DEI and B mean in the context of how businesses get run and the world of compensation and pay equity? We're also going to talk about the evolution of work. A lot of things happened in 2022, in the first 6 months of 2022, that really kind of shone a light on how work will evolve, or how it's changed already from the pandemic. And I think we're going to learn a lot, especially at HR Tech, about how HR technologies are going to grow and be able to meet that challenge. My hope is, at least, that we learn from World at Work, SHRM, and HR Tech about what's coming and what will be new. And so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, the pace of change is going to be really rapid, so it will be interesting to see what we see when we get there.
And when we get there, we will be confirming whether or not what we hope to see is there.
Exactly. Hey, the world, we are the critics of this. So
yes, that is true. We're allowed to be. We're also going to be talking about the evolution of compensation. We've gone through lots of evolution in the world of comp, especially over the last 3 years. It's crazy change. And so I think in this season, we're going to have lots of conversations about what and how is the world of comp going to do to overcome some of those changes that are happening in the world of work, as well as what's happening in the world of automation, and how does compensation change based on that? So I'm looking forward to that specifically.
Yeah, me too.
And then the last piece that I hope we get to, which is, and I know we're going to because we're going to be attending there, is a new HR Tech series. HR Technology is from September 13th through 15th. And we're really looking forward to attendance. And we're looking to, talk to some new friends, but we're also going to probably try and get most of our old friends to join us for conversations. And if you remember what happened last time in season 3, we gave guests the choice of whether or not they wanted to talk about HR technology, past, present, and future. I think it was compensation, past, present, and future, people analytics, past, present, and future. And so we're going to try and do the same thing again, and we'll do a compare and contrast 2021 to 2022 and see what changed.
We'll give them the choice of what they want to speak to, but we may not give them a choice. We'll just tell them what they're going to. Look, sure. I used to be a bouncer, so I can help force them to talk about whatever we want.
Can. Your physical presence will be imposing, and you will say, "You must answer this question."
Yeah, exactly.
Dum, dum,
then
dum.
they'll look at me and say, "You're not in college anymore. You don't intimidate me.
You're not in college anymore." And so I think what we're going to try and get out of season 4, other than to try and do 25 more episodes, is to really kind of take the next step, which is, to see the evolutions of where work takes the world of analytics and data and HR technology, and see what is the result on employees and businesses and shareholders, and try and give an opportunity for whether they're CHROs, CEOs, industry analysts, practitioners, to give their perspective on it and to help us understand what are they doing, how are they changing to be able to meet those changing needs. So the last topic that we wanted to try and cover in this episode is our predictions for the next 6 months. So hopefully, by the time we get to episode 100, we'll be able to look back on these predictions and say, were we right or were we wrong? And I'm going to kick it over to you, Dwight. Dwight, what are your predictions for the world of HR data, analytics, and technology over the next 6 months?
Oh, wow. Well, I'm actually going to talk at a more global level on this one, and I'm going to play Jay Powell here. So from David's just laughing at me. I think of the push and pull that we're seeing right now in the labor market and in the economic markets. We've got record inflation, and the Fed is trying to control it. We're seeing things in the labor market in terms of difficulty in getting the employees, sourcing employees. We're seeing wage compression, especially toward the bottom end of the scale. I think what we're going to see is a softening in the labor market. But my hope is that with some of the softening, as unemployment starts to tick back up a little bit, that companies don't take their eye off the ball in how to integrate and utilize technology for HR. I mean, I do think that even with a softening of the labor market, we're never going to see it flip back to things not being employee driven. And we got to keep our eye on the ball of keeping things employee driven. We've got to make employees feel that they have the data at their fingertips that they need, and that they have the ability to engage with technology to better engage with their employers. And on the flip side of that employers are utilizing that technology to better engage with the employees. So my prediction is that we'll see a little bit of an uptick in unemployment. I don't think it's going to be huge, but as inflationary pressures really start to peak, I think companies are going to be forced to make tough decisions to scale back on employees, and we're already seeing a little bit of it. So I think in 6 months you can gauge my prediction based on what the unemployment rate is, and we'll see how technology follows with that.
Good one. So I'm going to go in a similar direction, but I'm going to go a couple steps further. I'm going to say that because of inflationary pressures, the government is going to be forced to start putting together some incentives that enable people to look beyond fossil fuel. We're not going to be able to influence the prices of gas and diesel down, which are going to have knock-on effects to products in the market. Like we've already seen the rise in eggs. Of course, that came from the great poultry disease of 2022.
Avian flu, I think. Yep.
Yeah, where they had to kill 27 million chickens. But I think prices are going to rise on some goods because of gas and diesel prices going through the roof. And that pressure is going to put pressure on the government to do things that they've kind of been reticent to do before, which is to start migrating toward less fossil fuel. That may sound like a ho-hum prediction, but that has knock-on effects to the rest of the market. To your point, what does it do in terms of the world of HR and technology? I think what's going to happen is people are going to start to look to HR technology to start leading and figuring out what can we do smarter, better, because there are going to be cost pressures being put on organizations. And so they're going to tighten their belts again, and they're going to, go into cost-cutting mode. And we're going to start to see things. And this is over the next 6 months. We're not talking about a year or two down the line. Before we get to that election cycle, things have to get better.
Yeah.
No party wants to be the party of a recession during an election cycle. And so I think that the Fed, to your point, the Fed will keep managing that balance between inflation and unemployment and interest rates so that it doesn't affect the economy drastically and cause recession. Of course, it's going to come, but it's not going to be a big one. It'll be a small one, be a smaller recession.
Right.
Anyways, I think where this comes to HR technology is we're going to, I think this is your point, we're going to be asking HR technology to do more and to give us more insight as to what's happening in the people and especially the key resources, the knowledge workers, and to try and manage compensation expense much more carefully than we have been in the past. My hope is also that there is a new push on pay equity and that every compensation decision at organizations get looked at with a finer lens on pay equity at the same time we're looking at whether it's a promotional increase or whether it's a lateral, whether it's a merit increase or a bonus being given, that at every time that decision gets made, that we're smarter and that we're being more focused on what does that do to pay equity. Again, that's probably going to take longer than 6 months, but that would be nice.
Right. Yeah, and I agree with you completely. Yeah, exactly. Our hope and our prayer.
Right. Well, we have to wrap that up with a bow. We're going to put a do not open, and then 6 months from now, we're going to open it back up again and see were either of us close to where we thought we would be. 6 months was what? November 2022, November 18th, 2022?
Yeah.
So, Dwight, it was a good 75th podcast. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I'll and I think I've said this before, but I never pictured myself to ever be podcasting. And I could not ask for a better person to podcast with than you.
Oh, thank you very much. You're a great partner, and you've been carrying a lot of water on this, and you've been managing the podcast quite well over the last 50 plus episodes. And I thank God I met you, and thank God that you're part of the podcast. And, you're a great asset to the company and to me. And I appreciate you being my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I love it. And I look forward to another season of it.
Yes. Well, at least another 25 of them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We're on the hook. We got to get to 100.
That's right.
Even if we bore the crap out of every single listener that we've gotten to this stage, we love you, and we hope we don't bore you.
Oh, yeah. But, come hell or high water, we're getting to episode number 11.
Yeah. We'll even if we have to just, record one topic and we're going to do the 100. No, I'm kidding. Right. What we really would love to do is if you guys want to get engaged with us, send us an email, send us a text, send us, flowers. Just tell us what you'd like to talk about. One of the beautiful things about the HR Data Labs podcast is we've heard from a lot of people, and a lot of people have sent their PR organizations to contact us, and hey, that's cool. But if you want to talk to us, just send us an email. Dwight and my email addresses will both be on this podcast. So let us know your thoughts, what topics you'd like us to cover, things that you want to hear about, guests you want to hear from. We're going to work really hard this year to get some hard-hitting guests to be able to bring some different opinions that you've heard before. But still, we're going to be fun. We're going to ask them one fun thing, and we're going to make you laugh, or try at least.
And I would add one thing to that list too. If you want to be a guest on the show, if you feel like you've got a topic that you're passionate about that would be great to hear, please let us know. The progression that we've gone through more and more is that we have a lot more people reaching out to us saying, hey, this is what I work with. I'd love to be a guest on the show. And so more and more we're tapping into all of you as our network of guests.
Absolutely. And the funniest thing, Dwight, is the people who don't think they have anything to say turn out they have probably the best podcast.
That's exactly it. That's how we know when it's going to be a great podcast.
Yes. So thank you, Dwight.
Thank you, David.
And thank all of you. Take care and stay safe.
That was the HR Data Labs podcast. If you liked the episode, please subscribe. And if you know anyone that might like to hear it, please send it their way. Thank you for joining us this week, and stay tuned for our next episode. Stay safe.